Hello and welcome to my channel. I hope you're well and thanks for joining me in unboxing and reviewing the third bunny figure by Furyu from their Buy Cute Bunnies figure line that's based on the Kaguya-sama Love is War manga or anime. Last to join the bunny figure lineup is Hayasaka Ai, who is a servant in the Shinomiya household, specifically to her mistress Kaguya, but their relationship is more akin to that of inseparable sisters rather than a master-servant relationship. Anyway, enough backstory for now. Let's go ahead and unbox Ai now. If you had already seen my earlier reviews of Furyu's Buy Cute Bunnies figures of Shinomiya Kaguya and Fujiwara Chika, then you will be familiar with the box art style chosen by Furyu for the Kaguya-sama Love is War characters. At the front, we have a close-up image of Hayasaka Ai with the Buy Cute Bunnies logo. The Japanese words on the top left-hand corner is referring to Kaguya-sama Love is War, the first kiss that never ends, which is the anime movie that technically is the fourth season, as events in the movie follow on from the ending of season 3. Now here we have a close-up view of Ai's back, and although only part of her legs are visible, the white fishnet stockings are still as attention-grabbing as always. On the other side, there's a close-up image of Ai's front, attired in a bunny costume that has a similar color scheme to Chika and Kaguya. No images on the back of the box, just some info in Japanese, and that prominent Buy Cute Bunnies figure logo on the top. Now, let's go ahead to unbox Ai, as I'm sure you can't wait to see how this Ai bunny figure is going to turn out. Similar to the other Love is War Buy Cute Bunnies, bubble wraps and plenty of it seem to be Furyu's chosen method to protect its bunny figures from damage. It's an appropriate method considering that Furyu's Love is War bunny figures tend to have a slim profile with space mostly taken up lengthwise. Anyway, let's get Hayasaka Ai out from her protective bubble wrap. Now there's some cellophane tape holding the bubble wrap together. I'll need to cut those tapes first so that I can get to the parts that are located inside the bubble wrap. Needless to say, you would want to do this carefully lest you accidentally cut into the figure itself and damage the paint job. But it seems like there are 3 separate pieces to this Furyu bunny figure. Bear with me as I try to get the largest piece, that is Hayasaka Ai herself, out without snagging any fragile parts on the bubble wrap and breaking them. So that's Hayasaka Ai coming in one complete piece, missing only her bunny ears. Next we have her base that she will stand on, and this is followed by her bunny ears, which seems to have reverted from Chika's 2-piece bunny ears into a style similar to Kaguya's, which is both ears attached to a headband. Before we put Ai together, let's take a close look at all her details first. For this third bunny figure based on the Love is War series, I feel Furyu has successfully maintained their high Buy Cute Bunny standard. In terms of likeness, Furyu knocked it out of the park again with excellent face resemblance and a hand-on-hip pose that seems to be associated a lot with images I see of her. Not only is Ai's hair beautifully sculpted, it has some shading painted on it too, which is rare for most other prize figures. Yet another lovely detail is her iconic blue-coloured hair scrunchie that ties her hair into a little ponytail. The groove on top of her head is where the bunny ears were attached to later. Ai has lovely blue eyes in an almost sad expression that she always shows, and she's clad in the same beautiful white glossy bunny costume with a body shape that falls between Kaguya's petite frame and Chika's voluptuous body. There's some pink shading applied on the skin tone of Ai's exposed flesh, with the shading particularly very well done on her shoulder blades and back. There's also some shading on the underarm area as well, although the skin tone shading doesn't really show up on camera that well, but trust me, it's there. And if you look closely at her fingernails, you can see that they have been painted in turquoise blue, which is another iconic characteristic of her character. Meanwhile, the red ribbon bow on her chest area hides the fact that there wasn't any shading done on the skin tone there. Moving on to the white fishnet stockings, which is arguably the figure's standout feature, is certainly something that's not often included on prize figures. but I feel that's selling the figure short. There's so much more to Furyu by Cute Bunny figure line than just stockings, as good as they are. And they are good. Excellent, in fact. Taito has chosen to use real fishnet stocking material that looks good even at this scale or size of figure, which to me is around 1/7 scale or even slightly bigger. On the feet is a pair of gorgeous vivid dark red heels, which go well with the white bunny costume. Next we have Ai's bunny ears, which come modeled in a complete pair attached to a headband, and is in a white glossy hue like the rest of the bunny suit. Lastly, we have the white round base that Ai attaches to, and similar to the bases on the other Love is War bunny figures by Furyu, it has some gold line designs as well as the By Cute Bunnies logo on it. So with the once over complete, let's go ahead and put Hayasaka Ai together now. We'll begin with the most obvious starting point, which is her bunny ears, as there isn't really much assembly that needs to be done, seeing that Ai is already a complete figure sans her bunny ears. I can see that Furyu has reverted back to a connection style that is similar to Kaguya's bunny figure, which had the bunny ears already on a headband, to be attached onto the head via a groove on the head. In case you didn't watch the video of the Kaguya bunny figure, just know that my issue then was the inability to get the headband to sit flush on Kaguya's head, and the connection felt a bit loose. Let's see if it's better in Ai's case. Well, the connection between the bunny ears and Ai's head seems much more secure. I'm just pushing the headband as far as it can go onto the head to be sure. And as for the bunny ears, they now look like they are flush with the head or hair when viewed from the front at least. Next, we'll attach Ai to the base via the 2 pegs on her right foot and 1 on her left foot into the equivalent holes found on the round base. The fitting doesn't seem overly tight, and it didn't take too much effort to attach Ai's feet to the base. In other words, no pushing of the parts together using excessive force was required. So that's Ai secure on the base. We'll move on now to a full 360-degree view of the latest By Cute Bunny figure to be based on Kaguya-sama Love is War, the first kiss that never ends. Even though this is the third Furyu bunny figure I'm reviewing that's based on the Love is War anime series, I can't help but be impressed with how large this bunny prize figure is. Standing at 28.5 centimeters as measured from the bottom of her feet to the tip of her bunny ears, Hayasaka Ai is big for a prize figure. Based on my rough estimation, after comparing her with other pre-painted figures in my collection, I would say that she could be considered as 1/7 scale or even slightly bigger. Personally, I feel that Hayasaka Ai is Furyu's best take yet of a bunny figure based on Kaguya-sama Love is War characters. I can't quite put my finger on what it is, but the figure proportions, paint job, pose, facial expression and lightness, as well as the still remarkable white bunny costume, all seem to combine into a perfect storm of characteristics that you would want in an anime bunny figure character. Let me remind you that this is a prize figure, a figure collecting category that tends to carry negative connotations of lower quality and budget-friendly market appeal. Yet this bunny figure openly defies conventions and puts most figures that are more expensive to shame. From the way shading is applied to Ai's hair and skin tone, to the way the gloss finishing looks on the white bunny costume and dark red high heels, not to mention those realistic looking white fishnet stockings, all are features you would find on much more expensive figures. There's just no mistaking that this is Hayasaka Ai, not with the fantastic pre-painted details on her face, with those beautiful blue eyes standing out in particular. But it's not just the obvious things like her face that creates a high level of likeness. Other details like the way her nicely shaded blonde hair forms a fringe that's a lock of hair that drops between her eyes, to the way she ties her ponytail with a blue scrunchie so that it flows down the left side of her head, all these little details are perfectly recreated in the head sculpt. And of course it helps that Furyu also faithfully recreated a very eye-like expression that hovers between worry and stoicism. Should be noted, Ai's face lacks any form of shading at all, shading that exists on parts of her neck and back as seen from this viewpoint. However, the fantastic details on her face more than make up for this oversight. I also love how her neck collar and ribbon bow look like they are a separate item of clothing rather than being part of one huge undifferentiated piece of sculpture. Furyu has molded a fantastic looking bunny costume, inclusive of an imprint of her belly button, as well as creases and folds that make this a supremely realistic looking curve hugging costume. Apart from the white neck collar with the dark red ribbon bow I've already mentioned, I also love the other small details like the white wrist cuffs with black buttons, the small fluffy textured bunny tail on the back, as well as the turquoise blue fingernails. Unfortunately, one other detail didn't turn out so well. That is the black armband whose colors bleed slightly into her skin tone. Shading seems evident on Ai's skin tones, specifically on her back, her elbows, underarm area, as well as the sides of her breast. Shading is always welcome on any pre-painted figures, budget or not. Ai's body shape falls between that of Kaguya's flat-chested petite form and Chika's more voluptuous and well-endowed form. Ai is certainly voluptuous, but not so big-breasted as Chika, which suits her character well. The star of the show on Ai's lower half is invariably the oft-mentioned fine white fishnet stockings made out of real stocking-like material. There is a fairly thick overlap of stockings at the back of the legs, but not so bad as to distract from how good they look. Certainly better to have that overlap rather than have the stockings coming loose from the legs easily. Both stockings wrap tightly and realistically around the legs. And in a way, the existence of the stockings actually negate the need for any shading to be done on Ai's legs. As it stands, I can't really see if any shading has been done on either of the legs. Not that it actually matters, of course, since they have been covered up completely by these stockings. Ai is wearing a pair of beautiful dark red high heels. They look realistic in that the high heels are separate entities that her feet have slipped into, rather than look like an inseparable part of the legs, because the legs and heels were not molded as one single uninterrupted part. The base is a white, round, simple base with gold line design, as well as the logo of the Bi-Cute Bunny figures in gold as well. From the tips of her red high heels all the way to the tips of her white bunny ears, Hayasaka Ai in a bunny costume just looks so good. Because the design and pose are so simple, it's actually harder to make a figure impress aesthetically, but that it does, impress aesthetically that is. It's a credit to Furyu for excelling in the KISS principle, that is, keep it simple, stupid. Let's just summarize what I like about this Furyu Bi-Cute Bunnies figure before we look at the issues. There's much to like about Ai. For starters, the sculpted and paint details of her face and head are simply excellent. The obvious positives is that lovely white bunny costume, but that alone doesn't make it a good figure. For example, I love that they had applied shading on her hair and given her eyes a few different tones of blue. I'm equally impressed by the way the hair has been sculpted to resemble Ai's hairstyle. Most prominent is the blue scrunchie that ties her hair into a ponytail. Another thing I like about this Hayasaka Ai bunny figure is the pose that she adopts. While it may be uncomplicated, the strength of her pose lies in the fact that it feels natural and is in line with what you would expect from the character, in this case Ai, to adopt pose-wise. And her pose is also different and unique enough that it complements the other Love is War bunny figures of Kaguya and Chika, as you will soon see later on in this video. As a miniature painter myself, I'm always appreciative of any effort taken to add shading, tone or tint to the paint job. More so when you consider this is only a prize figure. This effort by Furyu is most visible from the back view, specifically the darker yellows on her hair at the back of her head and the pinks on her back, as in her shoulder blades and the spinal area of her back. While the bunny costume itself lacks any shading and is painted in a glossy monotone white, the many creases and folds coupled with the scale or size of the bunny costume results in natural-looking grey shadows that contrast well against the glossy whites. Last of the positives are those gorgeous dark red heels and the fine white fishnet stockings that look so realistic, all great details for a figure to have. One minor misgiving I have though is the existence of mole lines on her arms, which thankfully isn't too obvious against her fair skin tone. So it's safe to say that Hayasaka Ai's many positives far outweigh her negatives. I guess with you having to hear me wax lyrical about Hayasaka Ai, you can more or less tell how I'm going to rate this Furyu by Cute Bunnies figure. Needless to say, I absolutely adore this Hayasaka Eye bunny figure by Furyu, and I'm giving it a rating of Diamond or A rank. I highly recommend this figure if you are a fan of Kaguya-sama Love is War, or even if you're just a fan of bunny figures in general. So what are you waiting for? Go get Hayasaka Eye bunny figure now. I would even go as far as to say that it's arguably the best Furyu by Cute Bunnies figure, at least from the Love is War series so far. Before I end this review and take my leave, as promised, I'm going to leave you with a rotating view of all 3 of Furyu's bunny figures from the Kaguya-sama Love is War, the First Kiss That Never Ends series. So who we have here is Fujiwara Chika, Shinomiya Kaguya, and Hayasaka Eye herself. Last of all, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this review. I hope you have enjoyed the video, and if you did, please click like and hit the subscribe button. Thanks so much again, take care and be well.